The holes are too small for the pins now. I'm changing, yeah, rebuilding that. Now, if I just go to save, let's say the assembly, which is the active file, has a darker title bar. I go to click to save. It's asking me, you want to save the assembly? Oh yeah, and the block part that you just changed, because it's talking to that from the assembly. So yeah, I'll save all. Okay, now I've saved kind of a bad one, but it gives me the opportunity to show you some other things about the software. But before I do, I'll go back to that folder. I personally always show full details for files, not just extra large icons. Those are cool pictures, but they don't really tell me much except what the files are. But if I see details, I know what time and date they were saved. I don't really care so much about the size and what the types are, but this is the part that matters to me. I can look at that and see that these files were saved at 848, 849, must have been straddling when I saved them. But I can look and say, okay, those are my recent files, saved all my right changes, I want to keep those. Now, back to SOLIDWORKS to show you something else about it. Remember, these pins are too large for the holes that I created. If I want, I can go to called interference detection and calculate for this part, and now I see one by one the interference between the pins and the holes, how much material is running into one another. As an engineer, this is a radical amount of interference here. I wanted to do that so you could really see it, but let's say it's only by a few thousand. There's such a thing as called an interference fit. Some people call it a press fit, but you don't always press them together. Sometimes you heat up this part, the big one, and then you freeze everything else, and you put them together with big fat gloves on, and everything returns to normal room temperature, and it's stuck there. Anybody knows anything about valve guides in engines knows that's how they're installed in an engine, by freezing the guide and heating the cylinder head. Okay, an engineer needs to know how much interference there is, so he can pretty much tell you how hot you need to get this part and how cold you need to get this part so that they'll fit together without forcing it. Or how much pressure it will take if you insist on using a machine to force them, but in this case you're probably going to break something, hurt yourself. But that's one of the tools you can use. Here's another one. I never assigned material to these parts, but I can. I'll decide that this large block is going to be made out of brass. Oh, look at change color, that's pretty. Let's go back to the pin part, and I'll assign it from here. And we'll make those rubber, just to show you different color. I have silly choices as far as materials, but now we see an assembly, and we can, given the fact that these are solid models and they're made of a certain material, we can go to tools and mass properties and find out how much this thing weighs with those materials. The entire assembly weighs 3.68 pounds. The center of mass is predictably in pretty much the center of the block. I think if these were made out of something more than rubber, this direction would shift a little bit because there's more overhanging this way than there is. Yeah, let's show you something where we can make that a little bit more obvious. Let's take these three and delete them. Yeah. And let's take this one and make it out of, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Instead of rubber, I'll make that one out of, I think they have lead in here somewhere. Oh, I don't know if I want to go hunting for it. Let's just make it out of the type of steel, it's fine. Cast stainless steel. And this one's kind of fun. I did this last semester playing around. I make something out of water. I could make that block out of water. That's how about ridiculous it gets. Yeah, there we go, water. Technically, the block right now is made out of water and the pin is made out of stainless steel. That should hopefully, can't guarantee it, shift the center of mass slightly. Yeah, you can see it off center now. Okay? A lot of different tools that can be used with SOLIDWORKS. One of the great things about it, there are other add-ins where I can decide to analyze an assembly for stress. One of the better demonstrations they have You've seen the big wind turbines out there, like say on the way to Palm Springs? They can determine what that assembly would do in 150-mile-an-hour winds. Where would it fail? Can we beef it up to where it would likely fail? In fact, SolidWorks even has a software where it will get in and beef it up for you exactly where it needs to be once you've applied those stresses. I mentioned that I've been in the aerospace business, but I got to be a machinist because I was kind of a motorhead or gearhead, if you will. Many years, pounds ago, I raced motocross. I also love Formula One. I still follow both of them, but I don't get to play either one of them unless I'm on a video game. But people there used to, and they still do use wind tunnels for so they have a Formula One car. But that time with the wind tunnel is extremely expensive. Now they use what's called computational fluid dynamics, and they apply that wind to the body of a Formula One car and refine the design there on the computer before they ever get into that wind tunnel. Save a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of trouble. And software nowadays will analyze it and say, make this wing a little bit different curve, and it'll show you where you need to make changes. It's really cool stuff. Some of the more exciting stuff, people know about this now. A couple of years ago, they hadn't heard about it. Anybody notice this cabinet sitting up here, the little toy that's in it? That is our department chairs. He has a place up in the mountains